Thank you for joining us, so many. Welcome to this introduction to the Early Adopters program, and it's really a kick-off. We hope to work together with many of you over the next months. Just some basic housekeeping rules so that the session runs well. It's an interactive session. There will be time for questions and answers throughout the presentation, so please raise your hand to speak up or post your questions in the chat. And when you're not speaking, please mute your audio so that there's no background interference. We can maybe then go through to the next slide. So to focus on the objectives. And one other thing to mention for you, there will be a recording of this made available for you and other projects and partners interested in taking part in this early adopters program. So please note that. The objective of this webinar, it's the first kickoff of the Early Adopters program. It's focusing, as was mentioned, on the European Self-Sovereign Identity Framework and diploma use cases of the European Blockchain Services infrastructure. There will be, at a later date yet to be confirmed, a similar webinar for the document traceability and other EBSI use cases. And we noticed in your replies to your surveys that many of you are actually quite interested in the document traceability use case and its interaction with, for example, the CEF use case. So we'll post the conveners of the document traceability, the contact details of the conveners of the document traceability use case in the chat, so you can also be in touch with them over the next weeks. What we will do today is really focus on getting the information to you about the Early Adopters program, discuss in details the selected cross-border scenarios that we can work towards together, and hopefully bring everyone up to speed with the tools and the know-how to get started working together over the next months. If we can go to the next slide, you can meet the animators of the webinar today. So I'm Margaret Mulligan, a policy officer in DG Connect. Happy to co-host this with Zaira Lynn and Saki Cortides from the Stakeholders Management Office of the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure. You'll also hear from my colleague Pierre Marot in DG Connect, from the EBSI technical manager Robert Charney in DG Digit, and from the conveners of the CEF and diplomas use cases on which this webinar focuses, Daniel Dusoy and Luis Argenio. So I will hand over to Zaki now to present the agenda in a little bit more detail. Zaki, we don't hear you yet.
Now, can you hear me? Yes. Thank you, Margaret. Very happy to be in this webinar with you and to see so many people interested in participating, piloting with EBSI under the Early Adopter Program. My name is indeed Saki Cortidis. I'm part of the Stakeholder Management Office for EBSI, and together with my colleague Zaira Lynn, we are going to do our best to moderate the session. This webinar is addressed to, of course, public administration and their partners that would like to run a pilot and to integrate their applications with EBSI. The agenda of today is the following. So we are going to start with Pierre and Daniel that are going to give an introduction to EBSI, a very short one, as most of you are already introduced to the topic, and to the two use case, self-identity and diploma management. Then we will, they will tell you also everything you need to know about the Early Adopter program. We'll spend 10 minutes on that. Daniel and Luis will then give you a current status of the Early Adopter program, and we will hear some first inspirations from existing projects. Robert and I will then present you, and this is a very important step, the cross-border scenario, what it means, what we expect, and the success criteria, to then have Luis and Daniel explaining you in more detail the approach and the timeline, as well as how to get started to become part of this cross-border pilot. And at the end of the presentation, we are going to have a coffee time or let's say a Q&A session where everyone will be able to ask questions. Obviously, as explained, it will be interactive. So you can ask questions, you can use the chat, you will be invited to answer via a Slido tool some questions. And by the way, I suggest that we get started with a warm-up and some warm-up questions. So all along the presentation, you will see this yellow screen. Once you see this yellow screen, it means that you take your phone, you go to slido.com, and you use the following codes, and you will be asked some question that will be, of course, part of the discussion that we will have together in real time. So I will give the floor to Zaira, who will do the warm-up with you. Zaira, your turn.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Saki, for the introduction. As Saki already explained, we're going to go to Slido and we're going to have some icebreakers. If you could join me, I'm going to share my screen now. Perfect. All right. I see some of you already answered. So the question is, if age is only a state of mind, what is your state of mind right now? A lot of mad midlifers. Terminity. Same. I see a lot of participation. Thank you. Nobody likes to be a groovy grandparent, no. I think everybody identify as a mad midlifers.
Tormented teenager starts to come as well.
Oh, wow. We're going to give you a few more seconds and then we're going to go to our second icebreaker question. Okay, let's move on. Okay, who is your unsung hero? So who do you believe that we should celebrate today? Your everyday hero. It can be anyone. It can be, it could be me. It could be a football keeper. It could be Batman. Yourself, yes. Free Britney, I totally agree. Poor Britney. I like this one. Batman is the most popular one.
Not surprising, not surprising.
Santa Claus.
Lukaku is coming back. Lukaku.
Monty Python. You should watch that all this weekend if you haven't seen it yet. Oh, wow, we have a consensus here. I think we have a hero.
We have it. I think we can move to the next question.
Okay, our last question is, what do you expect to get out of this webinar? What are your expectations? Hopefully, if you answer something that we could provide you, and if we don't have it in this webinar, we hope to shape our future webinars based on your answers. Oh my God, do you need help? Please reach out to your healthcare. We have support to help you here.
Let's go over some of them, Zaira. Let's go over some of them as it's interesting.
Right.
Practice, okay, insights to be triggered. I think that's going to happen. I hope it's going to happen.
That is the view of EBSI. For sure that will happen. You will find peers as well to collaborate with, to help public administration in my member countries to actually understand the potential and technology of EBSI. This is beautiful. I hope we provide you with that answer today. Enlightenment also.
I think you would need to scroll up to see the recent answers, because I think we see the admin part of the screen.
Not really. I think this is how it looks, but we would have to. Yeah,
okay.
it's the coming answers that are overshadowing the later ones.
So you cannot scroll up?
Yeah, we can scroll down actually.
Or down?
A framework, intro to EBSI. Just so you know, we have a lot of documentation to help you understand a little bit better what EBSI is. We have videos that you can review and see. We've done these webinars before. Learn about the ESIC program.
Clarification of the first step in setting up the pilot project with EBSI. I guess this is going to come in the 5th section. Even if today we are going to focus on the cross-border scenario, we will explain that a bit later. But we are going to touch on the point definitely. Collaboration, of course. Framework, yes.
Zaira, I think you're not showing the right screen. Because we cannot see, we see the admin part.
Oh my God, wait, I think we're sharing the wrong screen now. Well, maybe we can move back to the presentation right now.
All right, I will go back to the presentation. Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
No.
Now we see it, but you have to. Yes, perfect.
Very good. So thank you for this warm-up. I guess we can now move on to the core of the presentation. And I will invite Pierre and Daniel, who will take 10 minutes to give you an introduction to EBSI and to the two use cases that will be the, let's say, the topic of today. So Pierre, Daniel, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Aki, Margaret, Zaira, and colleagues. Welcome to everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Pierre Marot. I work for DG Connect. I'm in charge of the Open Blockchain Partnership and the Open Blockchain Service Infrastructure. So this, this partnership is regrouped now all the member states plus Norway and Liechtenstein, and it has a broader objective to, let's say, reinforce the blockchain ecosystem in Europe, but its main focus for the time being is on the development and the deployment of the EBSI infrastructure. And it starts to be concretized. We have now more than 35 nodes spread all across Europe. I mean, some member states have several nodes. We have several nodes at the EC level. And of course, to complement the infrastructure part, we want now to see this infrastructure to be used and to be used by early adopters, and this is why we have organized this meeting. So just to make a small reference, I've heard that Tim Berners-Lee have sell a piece of his code or a copy of his code for $5.4 million. So maybe it will be for each of you an opportunity to sell your contribution to EBSI through an NFT in the future. So we invite you to be very much active in this early adopter process. Next slide. Yes, so EBSI, I mean, many of you knows already it, but I mean, for the time being, the focus is on cross-border public services. It has a governance which is in place that we can, of course, refine, improve with blockchain partnerships, but it's already in place with a policy group, with a technical group, with a user group, and also a governance, technical governance model, which is progressively put in place. Through the EBSI, we aim to reinforce the harmonization and through the cooperation with different players coming from different member states. And this is one of the objectives of the webinar of today, is that we propose a joint pilot for exchanging education credential between universities. So it's already one step towards more harmonization. EBSI aims also to provide for open source. I mean, the different components that are developed, at least for the core platform of EBSI, will be provided through open source. And of course, one important part of our work, which is also a way also to serve as a kind of best practice, is to agree on the regulatory compliance. So to propose solutions which are compliant, of course, with the EU regulation, but it helps all the different contributors from different member states to have the same understanding about what the regulation and the same interpretation about how we can make solution compliant with this regulation. Next slide. In terms of use case, I mean, EBSI focus on a first wave of 4 use cases. I mean, document traceability, which will be discussed in more detail in another webinar, as indicated by Margaret at the beginning of this workshop. About European self-sovereign identity, and we'll have the opportunity to come back to that today. About the exchange of diploma or education credential, it is the focus of the workshop of today. We have in parallel another use case which is developed now with our colleague from Digitax Sud, which is a bit specific for the implementation of the e-commerce directive. And this use case follows a specific track, but as soon as possible it will be integrated, and we count on EBSI to facilitate the implementation of this use case. We have also, through the European Blockchain Partnership, identified 3 new use cases on which we have started to work the preparatory and design phase. It concerns the SME financing, the European Social Security Pass, and to use EBSI in order to facilitate its asylum management process and cooperation between different administrations for this process. I think that's now for me the time to pass the floor to Daniel, that will continue to introduce the day and where we are in the EBSI. Daniel, up to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pierre. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy indeed to introduce our concept, our new concept that will see it from a different angle. And that is what we will talk today together with you to implement this model, this implemental model of self-sovereign identity in relation with the diploma. And as you all, mostly of you know, we want to put the user into the very heart of the system, really more than user-centric, putting in the control of everything. Yeah? With his wallet, with his digital vault, whatever you want to call it, he will be in interaction with issuing parties, government, private, whatever, but we'll focus today on government and university, and then interact with verifiers that need to check, I have my diploma, is it indeed trustworthy, has it been issued by the right party? And therefore we see using the EBSI services and the registries. So this kind of scheme that is new and is not constructed today is something that we would like to construct and co-create with you. We have built the necessary parts, but now we need to fill that model. If you go to the next slide. EBSI has created in the last 2 years a lot of core services that you can use. You go from wallet, identity, trusted registries, all these APIs are now in pre-production settings and are able to be used. And that is what we offer you today, that for your project, for your application, for your implementation, you can use those kind of things. And depending on which kind of phase that you are, they will go into the journey in much more detail. You'll be seeing that Eva, which we are, is implementing using certain, setting up a wallet, going to issuing or accepting the issue of the diploma towards sharing this. So you will be using the EBSI services to build that story, to end-to-end story, but we build it together. Next slide. More in detail, but we'll go into even more detail. We are not the entire ecosystem. To be clear, EBSI is a part of a bigger aspect. So we provide the ledger, we provide specifications, but a lot of actors need to come in display to really make this work. We need the universities, we need the different governments to interact with that citizens, and we need also wallets. So it's about, and that is, I think, the main message, it's about creating that ecosystem, and this ecosystem needs to be created together with you, with different projects. And that's why we also established and started that the Early Adopter program. Next slide. And to give you one illustration, but I think we'll be focusing today on diplomas, educational credentials. There are a lot of other credentials, but of course, adding trust to those education credentials has a big potential impact. So we have at this moment of potentially 70 million students. We have a lot of, in Europe, almost 2,500 higher education institutions. You have the 27 countries. You have 1.3 million teachers, the students. So that's a community that we will try to have to serve. So a lot of interaction between all those parties that need a new way. And we cannot be in a scalable way be served by the old mechanisms. Next slide. To be very clear also, and that is also in combination of aligned with the slide that we are building together an ecosystem. EBSI provides an important trust layer, but it doesn't provide the whole ecosystem or the health system. So we don't develop, or we don't plan to develop a wallet. We expect that comes from the market and from our solution. So we see an open system that whatever the student citizen wants, he can choose his own wallet, and that needs to be compliant or with EBSI. So it is something that we expect from different software vendors that come from member states or even initiatives. So we don't believe that we need to establish that one wallet, the interaction wallet that rules them all. It is an open system that can be used. Next slide. I think then we come to the early adopter program, where I think I pass the floor again to Pierre.
Indeed.
Yes. So the early adopter program, as I said before, we are now at a crucial phase of this EBSI project, where we have worked with all the team, with member state, in particular the conveners, that I take the opportunity to thank the convener who are doing a fantastic job for this EBSI project. We want now to engage more and more with different actors, different players like you, in order really to start to experiment this platform, this infrastructure. And this is where we are now in the project. We started this project a bit more than 2 years ago. After a first year of discussion with member state, we have got a first financing from a previous program, and then we have started to develop the thing. We have delivered a first version in 2020, early 2020, which was mainly for testing. But now we have delivered the first operational technical version, and we need to use it first in a kind of pre-production phase, and as soon as possible in production. And we hope to move towards this production stage, at least for some use case, by the end of before the end of this year. This is our expectation, and but we can start already now, and it was initiated already some months ago, thanks to Daniel and colleagues, with the early adopter program. And also we have prepared this early adopter program through the funding of different projects at EU level. This is what we call the CEF project. But this early adopter program is open to any other contributors that wants to start to exploit EBSI. And we're entering now, for the second half of this year, into a very interesting phase where we can significantly progress on the use of EBSI and demonstrate the added value of such an infrastructure in order to, in particular, to exchange credential, or also to use, let's say, registries at reference, as a reference, in order to reinforce the trust in our cross-border services within Europe. So we have a new program that will support EBSI with more significant financial resources. It will start also before the end of this support will start before the end of this year. But we have now already all the ingredients to work closely with you in a joint project or in a joint initiative, and to start to exploit EBSI. I think that's it, no, for me now.
We have one more slide. Next one is also for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know who is managing the slide, but we can move to the next presentation.
So I think that is just to say that the early adopter program is a dedicated program to guide the early adopter member states and the partner in imagining, building, and launching their pilot with EBSI. It was a statement trying to give an introduction to the program, and here we can deep dive into the objectives.
Okay, indeed. And as Saki mentioned, and on the last slide was there, so what we focus in the early adopters is indeed something that is mainly now focusing on the public sector. So we want to see that the first implementators are those public sectors, but of course together with their partners. So exclusive private projects are is not to be covered at this moment. Yeah. So if you focus something just in banks, that is not at this moment of focus, but we encourage all public sector projects to align. Yeah? But what are our goals to end? Yeah? So we want to see that we don't build an infrastructure, but it can also be used in an end-to-end pilot. Yeah? We need to showcase that this is a real alternative. So we need to have established things that can work for the end user in a real pilot implementation. Yeah? We also want to have, because we are mainly focused on cross-border, is to see how can we have synergy with member states. What is developed in Spain could be also useful in Poland, or vice versa. So those kind of things, or the learnings that different member states have done, that is a true power of the partnership to help them. Of course, we need to see this as also a big step or important steps towards the Digital Europe program, our next big implementation. So we now want to extend, prepare ourselves when we go to production, when we go to full mode, that we have the necessary learnings. And those learnings are also important when we want to have as much feedback on specification and guidelines as possible. With the first implementators that started last year, we learned a lot about, okay, is this in reality doable? Is it feasible? Does it need to be changed? So receiving feedback on the specification, on what EBSI has really built, is for us very important. And of course, we want to have the reuse of the different components by our member states. What you create is hopefully, and we trust that it will be, also useful for other universities, other schools, other public services, and can help spread that implementation. So those are the things that we want to achieve in this program. Is not only that you build something for yourself, but try to see, okay, how we collaborate in this and how we can benefit all from the learnings and the results of this. Next slide, please. For that reason, we have established, and we'll go into much more detail in the next slide, we have a bit established a journey, because we see this as a journey. It's not something that you just implement, click, and it's installed. It is I must say, sometimes difficult, a long journey. So you need to see about, okay, you need to discover things. There is a lot of documentation, a lot of guidelines, also a lot of new concepts that you may need to be made familiar with. So that is our first thing. We have named it Plan the Scene. Later on, after you have discovered and you know what you want to do and what you can do, of course, is that you design certain things. You design your ecosystem, you design your functional aspect, you design your roadmap together with us, of course, and then you kick off. And then together, because this is a joint journey, be going into the building of the pilot implementation. Let's build together things. We'll be needing components from other countries. students coming abroad, entering the scene, entering university, they need to be prepared and having also components in other universities. And when you leave the scene or when you have your official launch, we want also to learn about you. Okay, what has been going good? What is something that we can use? What is stable? So it is about a journey, and we want to guide you through that journey. Next slide. Now, for this reason, when we reflected on, okay, how can we do that? Do we guide you individually? Do we guide you separate project by project? We realized, and other projects also implemented, that the real power of EBSI is about collaboration. It's about working together. So what we will focus in this aspect in the CEF projects that are now present here, so the Connecting Your Facility project, but also the external project that we have invited and we have seen, is that we will not focus on an independent piloting, so implementing just something to say Romania and you implement it there. No, we want to work together with you on a real cross-border piloting path. So that path, which hopefully you will join, is about collaboration. It's about collaboration, and it's about also having a planning that is aligned with our other parties. So we'll be introducing in the next journeys also sprints that we want to take together, so our experts can guide you as a group in that journey. We need, of course, to define together some fixed and clear milestones, what we want to achieve, because we want to achieve also, that's the most important part, together as a group, we want to demonstrate to the political level, maybe to the broader audience, to your colleagues, that this thing is really working and is some valuable alternative. And we need to see how we can do that together. We use different tools to do that, so dedicated wiki space, also dedicated workshops and group sessions to work together, to interact. It's not only something that we share with you, you're going to share also with your colleagues. So that is that is something I think the main message that we want to give today, and we hope that you will be open to do that, is that we have a cross-border scenario that we'll having in the coming months until October, your full focus. So don't go into a separate project. Join us in that joint cross-border piloting path that gives us more results that will work for your students. Next slide. And for that, but I already mentioned that we have different channels that we want to aspect. So when you're on board, we're going to give you access to dedicated wiki space where you find all the information and maybe more information that you can handle, but we are very transparent on this. We hope to have with your coordinators dedicated weekly meetings, also quarterly webinars for things, and also workshops aspect. So it is not just fun, okay, here are the APIs and the information and good luck with it. No, we see this as, again, as a journey that we take with you. So it takes also some engagement from you, but you know that you are guided and that we all work together on our results. Next slide. To give you just a glance of a sneak preview of the wiki. So it's a dedicated collaboration space. Yeah, it is also a space that is limited in access. We don't put it on the outside world because we want to give you a bit also safe harbor to experiment with certain things before it's getting more and more publicly available. When things are more stable and more shareable, we of course publish it to the outside world. It's not that it is a secret project, but we gradually want to mature the things, and when it's ready, we publish. So you get early access to specification, you get early access to all the guidelines, and you get also dedicated access to all the experts that will you. And we hope that you also use that wiki to also share your results, because we are very interesting. Okay, what do you do with all those APIs? Is it useful? How do you have integrated? That is the thing that is most interest, because we are now coming from a building phase towards an integration and an implementation phase. And that's something that different public sector needs to do. Next slide. Now,
thank you, Daniel. Yes, it's time. It's again you are speaking, but
okay.
so that
Okay.
you can breathe 30 seconds. So thanks a lot. Now we are going to the third part of the presentation, and it's going to be giving a current status of the early adopter program, and with some very nice inspirations that will be given by some invited countries, and we hope that this will give you even a better view on a better practical view on how we are organized and what is going on. So Daniel, the floor is yours again.
Okay, thank you very much, Saki, for that breathing pause. Next slide. So as Saki has mentioned, we have already started with some countries that were in the past months interacting in the very early stage with us. Those countries have already have the first experience, but we want to broaden up that group, and that a broader group is hopefully you, although in the impressive figure of 120 participants. I don't hope that is the 120 project, but we are extending that, and that's what we want to achieve. That is broaden up and is bigger. You see different countries that are already now engaged with us. It went about Austria, Netherlands, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Slovakia, Sweden, and those were the first ones that were already engaged. You saw that some countries, and that is also up to you, had to focus on CEF use case, but most of them also had the diploma. What is not listed up here is what is mentioned, the document traceability was also a use case that was aspect. So those first, 8 countries were already engaged, and you see what the status is. Yeah, so Austria, Spain, France, North Rhine-Westphalia, other countries, Slovakia, they are on a stage that we were looking at kickoff aspect, but also at building phase. The first components, the first integration are at this moment already been handled and been aspect. And those learnings are also shared in that wiki. And also have contributed towards the improved specification that we have. That was the first group that will be continuing working on those specification and those implementation to be seen. We see also and hope to onboard after today also a new group. A new group that has been granted, of course, with the CEF project, so the Connecting Your Facilities. And those are the countries that we identified if we looked at the project aspect from Belgium towards over Cyprus, Greece, Finland, Luxembourg, Romania, and Slovenia. That has mentioned in the CEF project, we want to work on the use case of diploma or from ASIF or document traceability. So that group that will now start, we would like to bring into the journey. We have also reached out to some countries that are already worked out, and also have a call, and that's indeed the second slide, also made up a call to say, okay, which country is also interesting project that are not CEF funded, but are in a different way funded, how can they be a part of that? So we reached out, and we were very happy that we have, I think, 18 or almost 20 projects that were able, that wanted to integrate with us. You see here the list of countries, projects, going from Norway towards Italy, that were focusing, okay, I want to do something with ASIF. I want to integrate it in my specific context. Or some people in combination say, okay, we want to work on diplomas aspects. So that is are the things, and we are very happy that you submitted your application on this. Most of them were, of course, very good, and we want to use that not only to work with you individual, but work as a group. Try to implement all those kind of things, all those projects that are useful and valuable for us. So those are the partners that are, I think we have now a Slido question that are hopefully present here today. But I give the floor to Zaira or Klaki.
Thank you, Daniel.
Zaira, you can go ahead. The idea here is to make sure that we didn't miss anyone in the list. Even if you would like to emphasize on the fact that you are there, please listen to Zaira. She will guide you through the question, so that we are sure that we miss anyone. We don't miss anyone.
Right. So I invite you again to go back to slido.com and join us using 615494 or just scan this QR. And then we go to our next question, which is here. Are we missing anybody based on the slides? If so, please indicate your country, initiative, and use case. We're not missing anyone?
Regarding the Impulse project, we are in close contact with the team leader of this project. So we already established the first interactions. Now, regarding the rest, I think we will need to reach out to Bulgaria, I've noticed, Lithuania.
Indeed, but also, I mean, it's possible that that you are in the list. But what we will do definitely is that if you put your name in there, we are going to check the list and make sure that you are inside. And all of this will be reported, obviously, afterward.
And we are also working with Digital Europe for All. That was listed in the table at the very bottom on the presentation. So let me just quickly go through. And of course, we are very interested to cooperate together with other EU initiatives in order to make our EBSI ecosystem more robust and vibrant. And I see many of initiatives coming up, like Work by PI, for example. This is the first time I hear about it, so it's good to know that there are projects similar.
Some of them are in the list, obviously. Don't hesitate if you're not in the list and that you are checking possibilities like Liechtenstein. It's also very good to know, in fact. So
interesting.
Very good. Maybe 30 seconds left, and we go back to the presentation because we have another slide of question just after.
Shall we move on, Saki?
I suggest that we move on and do not hesitate to interact with the chat as well. So I will share my screen. I will recuperate the sharing.
I will keep the poll open for anybody who wants to answer.
All right, and floor is back to you, Daniel.
Okay, thanks. This slide, if you can put it in, yeah, perfect, gives just the status of the first implementators. I don't know, the flag of Digital Europe for All is not included, but it's a bit difficult to have that flag. Now, but you see here, where are the projects at this moment? You see that they have indeed a bit also their own pace. Sweden is still exploring what kind of opportunities. Sometimes a project indeed needs more reflection. The most of them have passed the design phase, and they are thinking about the kickoff of implementation, the really building. But we're happy to see to Spain, Slovakia, Italy, France, Austria, and also the Netherlands all been now in that piloting phase and that really building. So they are using the guidelines that we have to really implement it on their national level. As individual projects, that was a bit the focus on the first set, but we would like now to have guide you with all the project at the same pace, that we already move as fast as possible towards the building phase, and of course, and have a joint launch of our pilot. So those phase, and this is a bit the status where we are. Those countries that are now in phase 3 will be joined by you, of course, and will be, of course, building more components because they need to build certain things that are useful by everybody. Back to you, Zara.
Thanks, Daniel. And keep in mind this framework as we are going to use it through the presentation, and also it's the subject of the next question, because we would like to understand your status or where you think that you are in your piloting journey. So for us, it's very important to know that. Zaira, I let you guide the conversation.
Right. I see that we already have a few answers. So where are you in your piloting journey? Are you in the design phase? Are you in the discovery phase, the build, or are you ready to launch your pilot story? There are consensus in the design, the pilot concept. We see more or less that our participants are kind of on the same level.
It's actually very interesting to see that the majority is in the design, because that's the point where we can align, and that's good. Obviously, it does not mean that we can not align with the rest of the steps, but in the design phase, is a good moment to do it. Great, 43 answers. Do we have more? We have 124 participants. Of course, not 124 projects.
I hope not. No, but everybody well. But I think indeed, if we see the participant list, that indeed we have people of multiple projects. So
that should reflect more or less the number of projects we have listed, I think. That's great.
So
Fantastic. I think it's a very interesting result. Shall we move on? Or we wait a little bit more?
We can move on, Saki. I will keep the poll open for whoever wants to answer some more.
Very good. So I will take the screen back. All right. Can you see the screen? Yes.
okay.
Back to you, Daniel.
Okay, thank you. So of course we tell our story, the happy story that you do and the journey that we have, but don't trust us. Trust, of course, the other people that have already engaged with us. And we have asked also those first implementation also to share their story at this moment, so you get some inspiration. In the wiki, when you get access, the first thing that you need to do is, before you read the information, go and check those other countries. What is Digital Europe for All did, what did Slovakia did, what Germany is doing, what is Austria doing. And some of them have already made also some videos. And I'll invite you, we'll not go into detail from this one, but we invite you to also share and look at, okay, what is Spain doing? How do they implement this? There's a lot of things to learn about this aspect. And Spain is implementing, I think, what we'll present as a full story. So it's a very interesting use case. But at your pace and at your ease, please check this thing out. Next slide, please. But of course, we also wanted to have also a bit of testimonial or an honest testimonial. And we asked Austria, the Austrian project, that was at the very early stage joining us and helping us a bit telling their story. So I would like now to give the floor to Marcus Sabadello, and I don't know if Andreas Abraham will join, also to share their view. How have they seen this journey? What are their aspects? So Marcus, if you can unmute yourself, and I don't know if you want to share screen or presentation, but the floor is yours.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I will share a few slides if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, is it working?
Yeah, you see your screen. Perfect.
Okay, well, thanks for the opportunity to share some of our stories from the Early Adopter program. I'm Marcus Sabadello from Danube Tech. Just a few words about us. We are a self-sovereign identity company in Vienna. We've contributed to a lot of specifications and ideas and community organizations in the decentralized identity world, and we're working on some open source tools and also enterprise products for the building blocks of SSI, DIDs, and verifiable credentials. EBSI for Austria is one of the pilot projects in EBSI, supported by CEF, by the Connecting Europe facility. I think compared to some of the other pilot projects, we are relatively small consortium. We are 3 organizations. That's us, Danube Tech, as a solution provider, and then 2 universities. That's the Technical University in Graz and the Vienna University of Economics and Business. Our objective is to work on the EBSI diploma use case that was already mentioned, and to issue and verify digital diplomas with these 2 universities based on the EBSI infrastructure and specifications. We are working with verifiable attestations, not verifiable IDs. That's something a technical distinction that hasn't really been mentioned yet. The difference is verifiable IDs. That's identity data based on the IDAS, the legally recognized identity of an individual, and verifiable attestations. That's everything else. That's things like diplomas or driver's licenses or club memberships, things like that. So we are focusing in our use case on the digital diplomas and not on other things, but we are working with these 2 universities to actually issue and verify diplomas on data coming from those universities. I don't want to go too much into technical details probably, but you can see on a high level that what we're building is some infrastructure, some components for each university. So on the left side, you see the Technical University of Graz, and on the right side, you see the Vienna University of Economics and Business. And on a high level, you can see that they are both connected to EBSI, the EBSI infrastructure, and they are communicating with holders, with students who receive their digital diplomas in their wallets. And then we are experimenting if they can issue and verify each other's diplomas based on the EBSI infrastructure and specifications. Here are example DIDs, decentralized identifiers, as all of you probably know, are one of the main building blocks that make this technology work. And we have successfully created DIDs on the EBSI pre-production ledger for the 2 universities. So what you see here, these are real DIDs, real decentralized identifiers that we're using in our projects. They are registered on the EBSI ledger, and they are fully compliable with the relevant standards. You can also see here a link to one of our GitHub repositories where we're sharing some example data and some demos about our project. Here you can see one of those verifiable attestations, one example of a digital diploma that we're working with. On the left side, you can sort of see the real life version, an example of a diploma as it would be issued by the Vienna University of Economics and Business. You can see some data about the student, about what they studied, when they finished their studies, and so on. And then on the right side, you see the digital equivalent. All right, this is the EBSI-based, EBSI-compliant, and W3C World Wide Web Consortium compliant piece of data that constitutes the credential as it would be issued by the university to a student. You can, if you are interested in the technical details, you can see actual real EBSI-based identifiers here. I was asked to share some of our impressions and learnings and experiences in the early adopter program. I can say we find that EBSI is really very promising, very fascinating project. It's a real privilege to be part of that and to be working with that. We are pretty well connected in the SSI community, but I think EBSI is really one of the leading projects right now in the world, and it's really nice to be part of that. There have been, throughout the early adopter program, there have been regular technical webinars, weekly update calls, regular updates to the specifications, good support. So whenever we had some questions, there was always somebody who would listen and answer our requests. There are good APIs now that we were able to use quite easily to work with DIDs and verifiable credentials and all these building blocks that we need for our project. There's some example code that we were able to use. Every now and then there were also some issues, some bugs, maybe some missing information or some things in the specification that we didn't fully understand, but things evolve, and some of the challenges maybe that we still see are also being worked on, right? So like Daniel said, this is more like a journey that we're all building together, and that's also what it felt like. It was generally a very positive experience whenever something is still open or not fully completed yet. Then there's a clear way forward and how to complete certain topics. For example, some topics around the technical details of the verifiable credentials, semantic interoperability, JSON LD details, which is one of the underlying technical standards. Some things are not completely defined yet. For example, how do digital wallets talk to each other? There's still some evolution happening, and maybe also some legal questions that where I think some of the around DIDs and GDPR. But I think for all of these questions, there's some very competent and really real experts working on that, and it has felt really good to be part of the process to work on all of these topics. In our project, EBSI for Austria, right now we are focusing on integrating with the actual university infrastructure, right? So we are working with real universities. They have some existing infrastructure. So the interesting question is how to extend or how to add these new concepts, EBSI, DIDs, verifiable credentials, to an existing system. That's what we're working on, and then we're also looking at different wallets right now. As others have mentioned before, there's not going to be a single EBSI wallet, but there will be multiple wallets, and we're currently working on trying out and evaluating some of them. So that's our current status and some of our experiences. We're also very interested in the cross-border interoperability topic that has been mentioned several times already. Today we are in contact with some other projects, and of course that's the objective, right? If we issue digital diplomas by an Austrian university, then we also want that to be recognized, for example, by a company in Spain or in Romania, and the other way around, right? So we are very excited to try out some of these things, and I think also globally, right? So we're also interested in interoperability with other ecosystems. I think really EBSI is a global leader right now, but there are also other initiatives in Canada, in the US, in Germany. We have the iDunion project. So interoperability between all of those, I think, will also be a very fascinating topic. And that's it. Again, here's the link to our GitHub repository where we're sharing some information about our pilot project, EBSI for Austria. Again, it's been really nice to be part of the program. Please reach out if you have any questions about our project, and of course, I also look forward to work with the new participants that will join the program now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Marcus, and happy that you are on board. And indeed, the journey doesn't end at the end of at the borders of Europe. It will be a global thing. Yeah? So happy to see this great progress, and I hope to continue the collaboration. Back to you, Saki, I think now, or back to Robert.
Yes, I think it's back to Robert, and then maybe we spend 2 to 3 minutes for the last part of this bit, and then we will enter into the core of the matter, being the cross-border scenario. Robert, floor is yours.
I can take this slide. However, the next one's supposed to be mine. But no, not a problem at all. I'm really glad that we have so many participants. Thank you very much for joining. We, of course, providing support services and resources, and as Marcus already said, we are trying to achieve a good satisfaction level of early adopters, because for us, cooperation with early adopters is crucial and very important, one of the highest priority on our daily roadmap. So, of course, during the next weeks, months, during the summer, we plan to reinforce these capabilities to support early adopters as much as we can. So we want to provide some additional support services. We want to make documentation more accessible for everyone. And also we want to prepare sort of a tooling that will allow early adopters and integrators, service providers, solutions providers that are working together with early adopters to be inspired and to understand how to consume EBSI services. And of course, during the summer break, we want to index all of those tooling. We as a technical office prepared a sort of a command line tool that allows you to perform specific parts of the journey from onboarding of a user towards using different particular APIs. And of course, there are also initiatives that are cooperating with the BSI through the, for example, next generation internet, and here precisely ESIF Lab initiative. There are some projects that would like to also share their findings and open source some parts that could be used by everyone in order to make the journey easier for the integrators and solution and service providers. I think regarding informations about those tools, you can reach us now if you really wish to do it during the summer. But if it's not the top priority of yours, we will provide the information about those tooling after the summer break.
Thank you, Robert. Now we are going to go through one of the most important parts of the presentation, which is basically the cross-border scenario. So we have defined it in more details, the objectives, the success criteria, what we want to achieve, the timeline. And during the next hour, we are going to speak about that, and we are going to try to find some first alignment, but also to understand who would be ready to be committed to take that on board. So I don't know, Robert, if you want to take it, or I take the beginning as you prefer. For me, it's the same.
We can try to do it together. I think that the most important is the next slide and realizing the opportunity that we have, especially during the pre-production, where we can be a little bit more in the experiment mode rather than to be that serious and work on every little aspect of exchange of credentials. So for us, what is important is to demonstrate the cross-border capabilities of EBSI services. We believe that this part is really crucial and important to sustain the growth of the project and to scale up in future and to achieve increased mobility and easier life for citizens and all of us. And what we mean by achieving the cross-border verification of educational credential, this means that we wish to work with you to select at least one university that would like to issue an educational credential, and another university from another country, from another member state, that will be able to verify it and confirm the end-to-end story. I don't know, Saki, if you...
No, indeed, I think you went to the essence, and I think this goes with a number of success criteria. So if we detail now the scenario, what does that mean? It means that, and you will see there is a question about that afterwards that we would like to hear from you. But what does it mean? But first of all, that the diploma is issued in one member state and verified in another member state, either by another university or by a private entity, if possible. That at least one university per member state with a connected IT system is able, of course, to issue the educational credentials following the right format. This is something that we will come back on. Involving end users, meaning students in our case, in the participating university, and having them hold this educational credential in a digital wallet. So that's very important. So it means that also one entity, such as an employer or at least one university, as I said, per country needs to be able to verify the educational credentials. And last but not least, that at least one provider of digital wallet needs to be there to store the educational credential. And this success criteria seems to be easy, but we need to go towards this, and it's not necessarily always easy. So a question for all of you here, and I invite Zaira to take the floor here, is, do you see any other success criteria that would be very important in the context of the realization of a cross-border scenario? I would be happy to hear from you, Zaira, if you share. So go to slido.com. We don't repeat the number, it's there on the left. So any other success criteria you have in mind? Please shoot. Did we miss an important element? Do you agree with what has been said?
This could really help us define our criteria. If you have any that we missed, this is your chance to let us know.
Any other ambition you would have that has not been mentioned? A clear model for interaction with notified ID. Okay, interesting. Okay, strong cross-border cooperation amongst different public administration. Excellent. Successful interoperability tests on all of 4 layers. So that's a good one as well. Something that I saw already. increase the awareness on the use of blockchain technology. I love that one. It is very true. You will see later on in the presentation that we will touch a word about the importance of going towards a shared adoption strategy. The adoption of the different stakeholders in the ecosystem is key, and therefore the awareness is key as well. Please, team members, do not hesitate to react on the things you see. I think they are very interesting things involving companies and citizens. Yeah, I agree. Business model for cooperation. Excellent. Actual user adoption, we have said it. Money. Excellent. Of course, needed. Good. We see that demonstrates that diplomas are just an example. The true power of the infrastructure is that it can be used for any credential. Sure, exactly. But that's why we need to, I think, we believe we need to go for this realization of the cross-border scenario on one credential so that at least we have a good success story that we can show to the rest of the world and to the rest of the credentials that we see.
I see a topic of network of networks coming up again. Yeah, that's the huge challenge that Marcus was also telling us in his presentation.
I think be smart, be decent in your goals. I like it as well because it's true.
Yeah, network of networks. Yeah, something fascinating and something really difficult to achieve. But I think one day we will have a proposal to solve this issue, or maybe not an issue, but to solve this this problem, how to interconnect different blockchain networks. As there are already projects on the globe which are capable of doing it from the technical perspective, but the main problem is the governance domain.
Very good input. I think we are going to move on. If you have something else to say, please use the chat. We are going to move on the presentation, but that was really very important for us to see that and to integrate as much as possible this into the success criteria we have set up so far. So I will take the screen, if you don't mind. Can you see the screen? Yes. Yes. All right. So Robert, you want to take that one?
So how we see this in practice? So we have here a part which is related to the issuer part, and on the left and on the right the verifier, in the middle our student that will be a holder. And we think that every team should consider to take opportunity to reflect on the roles that will be required to play the whole scenario for the end-to-end pilot. And here, of course, we start with a trusted accreditation organization. It's an organization that allows and accredit trusted issuers, organizations that will issue verifiable credentials of educational type to issue those credentials. And then, of course, establishing the trusted registries, filling in entries regarding those institutions will be an important step for the issuer part. And of course, later on, we would like you to issue first educational credential and store it in the wallet of a student. Now, member states B, we would like to engage with those in order to verify the educational credentials that were issued by the member state A. And here, it doesn't mean that the member state A needs to be a strictly an issuer. It might work in the whole concept. So one member state, one part of a pilot might playing all of the may play all of the rules. So can play an issuer, a holder, and a verifier to check cooperation with the other member states, and also take part in issuing and verifying information regarding educational credentials.
Indeed, and just to add on what you said, Robert, what is important here also in the framework is to we have exposed a scenario, and we would like to take each role or each actor to really understand very well each of them, and you will see that there are also other actors in the ecosystem. And the methodology here is to make sure that everyone understand and cluster the different actors in that way, so that we have a common way to cluster them, we have a common way to explain things, and we have a common way to basically design this cross-border scenario. And by the way, if we go back to the scenario in practice, and you have seen that slide earlier with what Daniel presented, in fact, you see that each actor needs a tool, right, to make it happen. So if we take, for example, the student, the older, he will request the issuance of an educational credential through a digital wallet. And the issuer here on the left will issue the educational credential using either what we call an enterprise wallet or an existing system, right, that is able to manage the educational credentials. And if we take on the other side, first, the holder, of course, after requesting the issuance, will receive and store this educational credential via the wallet, and will present the educational credential to the verifier. And on the other hand, the verifier will need to verify, meaning checking the attributes of the educational credential using, again, an enterprise wallet or an existing system that is able to manage the educational credential. And all of this, of course, interacting with EBSI. So that's, in fact, the scenario in practice. And obviously, there are also other important roles to consider in the ecosystem. So we have seen our 4 roles: trusted accreditation organization, issuers, holders, and verifiers. These are the core, let's say, stakeholders. But we also need, obviously, service providers, for example, the ones that will build the IT system and the application, such as the digital wallet, following the guidelines and the specification to ensure the compliance and the interoperability. We also need partners. It can be institutional partners, other DGs, and that to, of course, increase the size and the value of the ecosystem by bringing existing services or products to the overall solutions. We have mentioned, or we will mention Europass, for example. And then obviously there is EBSI, which provides the infrastructure and the core services APIs that have been presented so far, as well as the guidance that is necessary to support all of this journey that has been presented by Daniel earlier. And maybe I will give the last words to Robert on that one, because that's also a very important one.
Yes, it's important one because there are many challenges ahead of us, ahead of our journey, that we will need to sort out together in order to reach production state. Some of them are defined here, like the ones actually that are very similar to what Marcus already put on his list, is to have a full agreement and alignment between member states regarding data modeling and formats for exchanging the information. That's the one part which we will need to sort out together. However, having additional tools provided by different projects and also by the technical office, we can experiment using pre-production already an exchange of information using some examples, well-defined and well-recognized formats that we believe are a good baseline to work on in order to have a full alignment for use in the cross-border context for production state.
Very good. So we can go to the last question for this chapter, or the only question for the chapter. So I invite Zaira to take the screen.
Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
So the question is, at this stage, are you interested to join the cross-border scenario? If you have some doubts, you can speak up and let us know what your doubts are, or you can write it in the chat. We're interested in hearing what are we missing to convince you.
Indeed. Do not hesitate to share anything that could be useful. The goal is really to work together and to understand the expectations of everyone.
Right.
I also see exchange in a chat regarding trusted accreditation organization. It sounds really scary at first, but this is an organization that in your country gives a permission to, for example, universities to issue educational credential. And now we know that each member state works a bit differently, and here we will discover it together with you, and we will try to find the best way to encode information about the organization that can do it in the trusted registries. So for some countries, the trusted accreditation organization is also a trusted issuer. So it's like a super organization that is, I think, the case of Spain, as far as I recall. So I wouldn't be afraid of this trusted accreditation organization at first. And we will help to find out the solution for your country based on your input.
It's actually fantastic to see that 38 projects seems to be willing to join at this stage the cross-border scenario. Very happy to see that. Again, before closing, for the ones who said no and the one who said maybe, do not hesitate to interact and tell us why. No problem. This is very important for us. But we are definitely very happy to see 83% of potential candidates. That's very good. And seeing that, I suggest with 40 results, which seems to be the number of project, the threshold that we have, I think we can move on. And we can move on to the last section, which is now we see, in fact, that a lot of people are interested. How? What is our approach? What is our timeline? So we are going to discuss about that in the next 30 minutes, and that is going to be very practical and very interesting, I hope. So I'm going to take back the screen. Thanks a lot for your interactions. Again, this is very important. I'm sharing my screen as we speak. And voila, as I said, and I will invite in a couple of minutes Luis and Daniel to come and join me for that last section. As I said, so now we are going to present the onboarding process and the collaborative path that we propose to follow for realizing this cross-border scenario. And Luis?
Yeah, thanks, Aki. Yes.
Do you want to take it as from there, or
maybe that's perfect. Don't worry. So thanks, Saki. I have the sorry. Maybe this one also. Okay. So I have the dubious honor of explaining the last section before the coffee. So bear with me, guys. What is the collaborative path that we propose to you? What it is like? What does it mean for the key players that will be part of the journey? So in this next slide, we will delve into the journey, and we hope to motivate you enough to ensure that you will go on board on wave 2. And don't worry, we will also explain how to do it, because there are several questions in the chat about that. It is all about the ecosystem. It is all about the existing actors and the benefits that EBSI can bring to all of them, or to the whole ecosystem. At last, it is about adoption. You must identify the key stakeholders, all the stakeholders, and map the existing entities or roles into the EBSI ones, identifying the gaps, prioritize, communicate, and engage the key audience to ensure success. All actors are relevant, but different messages to different information requests must be given. Policy messages, business messages, technical messages. It is really important to have the whole picture and give the right message to the right target. You need to ensure that all of them are part of the same picture to ensure adoption. The key partners to ensure endorsement at policy level, as commented before, for related business domain, for diploma, for a CEF, service providers who will accompany you on the journey, who will be the ones offering final services to citizens. And the core stakeholders like the linked, to the CEF model, the issuer, the holder, and the verifier, plus the accreditation organizations that will be the ones that will help implementing business governance for the related domain, diplomas or CEF. Let's take a deeper look at this, but first let's get an overview of how EBSI can add value to each of those key stakeholders. This is our resume table of expected benefits from EBSI for each of the actors. As you can see here in the table, benefits are shown under a business perspective. So trust is a clear benefit for all the key stakeholders: accreditation organizations, issuers, holders, and verifiers. Partners and wide providers will take benefit on escalation at European level. Holders will benefit taking full control of their data, and we hope this slide can also help you to engage all the entities of your ecosystem. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the 4 key stakeholder roles to be taken into account when planning and setting the scene. Trusted accreditation organizations have the opportunity to build a new trust paradigm, reducing friction interactions, increasing trust, and increasing the transparency, and enhancing security in sharing data. Issuers here have the opportunity to lead the change, positioning their entity as a pioneer brand, reducing friction in interactions, increasing trust, and enhancing security in sharing data. Added to that, at the scale, they will also benefit decreasing administrative costs. Holders will be the ones holders will be one of the best benefits, naturally enjoying mobility for all Europe. Verifiers will reduce costs, reducing mistakes, and protect against fraud. Fourthly, interacting with government agencies, as well as reducing friction and reducing verification costs. Next slide, please.
Yes, Luis, if I might add something, just a small comment. We are showing this to demonstrate the importance of treating each of the stakeholders and the actors in, let's not say a different way, but to accentuate the communication and the benefits with what correspond to them. And this is very important because you need to accentuate these taglines. We are not here saying that these taglines are the best of the world. By the way, there is no specific question about that today, but if you want to react in the chat and give ideas on what would be the best tagline for any stakeholders, you are really welcome to do so. So sorry, you can continue.
Thanks, Aki. Thanks, Aki. Next slide, please. So as said by Daniel, wallet is a key piece and wallet providers are key actors. All interactions will go through wallets. Provide EBSI compliant wallet solutions is a key point for success. EBSI compliance and interoperability wallet providers will play a key role in the ecosystem. And for that, also dedicated tools will be provided. I don't know, Robert, if you want to jump in here. If not, we can continue.
Oh, please continue. Please continue.
Okay. So as said before, Web 1 is a co-creation and learning experience for all of us. The first experience gave us the opportunity to learn on how to move from ideation to production throughout adoption. What have we learned by now on Web 1? So blockchain and EBSI are new paradigms and carry complex concepts. So it is really important to spend enough time to discover the new concepts and get familiar with them. Also, the cross-border and collaboration perspective between member states needs to be taken into account when structuring the opportunities. All actors must be taken into consideration. As I said before, you will need to use proper communication with all of them, and you need to map all them over EBSI roles. Take special consideration also on the impact on existing governance, on existing processes, and information systems, identifying the added value and the barriers for each of them, as also Saki commented just right now. Preparation is key before moving to action. Be sure that all team is on this at the same page, it's engaged, and have a clear understanding on the journey and the roles that they will play within the new paradigm. On action in the team, be sure and guide any actor on the dedicated stage for each of them to ensure success. Because the implementation path is not the same for all of them, and we will talk a little bit more about that later. And finally, when the end-to-end experience will be accomplished, invest in creating a great dedicated narrative for the right targets and disseminate results to attract more stakeholders to engage with EBSI. Next slide, please. Okay, we have defined the steps as explained above, and we have also divided them into several sprints that will help you meet deadlines, but also the expected results for each deadline. Let's have a deeper review on this. Next slide, please. Okay, so steps are formed by a sprint, as you can see right now here. The sprints are between 3 or 2 weeks, or 4 weeks, sorry, with clear tasks and deadlines. Some steps and sprints must be done as a whole team, like the ones for step 1, 2, 3, or 5. Another clearly clearly identified for each of the stakeholders, like in step 4 for the task execution organizations and so on. You can see that different steps will be done by different stakeholders. On step 1, the discover, it's expected that you will do the following tasks: establish the team, of course, understand the end-to-end scenario, understand the roles in the context of the scenario, identify the information systems that are currently used to manage education credential flows, assign the roles to the team members, select the team leader, who will be a single point of contact. That's important also for us, for the relation between your team and our team. On step 2, the design phase, It is expected that you will do the following tasks: is to validate the stakeholders and the role that they will play in the journey, validate the functional scope, so the journey, the features, and all this stuff, assess the benefits and impact on your systems, and validate the roadmap and integration plan. On step 3, the kickoff, it is expected that you also will do the following tasks: the mobilize the stakeholders, technical onboarding team, showcase plans, and share ideas, and establish collaboration with other projects. That's the opportunity to collaborate for co-creation, or just take benefit of others have have already done. On step 4, different stakeholders will perform different tasks, and that's so the accreditation organizations, the trusted accreditation organizations, will fill in the trusted registries, will set up verifiable credentials for managing and issuing capabilities. The issuers will also fill the trusted registries with their own information and the verified attestation that has been issued by the accreditation organization and entitle them to issue a concrete type of verified attestation of education of the credentials or identity. They will also set up the verified credentials issuing and managing capabilities. We'll check whether all these capabilities work, and we'll start to issue VCs. For the holders, they will download and set up digital wallet. For that, of course, wallet providers must exist there, and wallet solutions, EBSI combined wallet solutions must be provided. They will download the wallet. They will do the onboarding process against the issuers, and they will store the verified credentials that will be issued by issuers on their own wallet. And of course, when interacting with the verifiers, they will share those credentials to get access to the service. And the verifiers, of course, they need to evaluate the capabilities of existing systems, information systems, to enable the verified credentials channel interaction, and they need to interact with the holder and be able to verify and check against the EBSI ledgers the status of the credential, the provenance, and so on. And on step 5, as I already said, we need to demo days and also promote and disseminate the results. So
thank you.
Yeah,
Luis. Thanks a lot. I think I just to complement on the details, detail planning that you mentioned. I would just like to come back a little bit on the principles of the approach, because obviously you went through the lesson learned, and I think this was very interesting. So what we want to do at the end of the day is to build on the lesson learned and working towards this cross-border scenario. And in order to do so, we propose a collaborative path that is organized in sprints with key touch points and milestones, where all the participants of the cross-border scenario will meet together. So these are important principles to go and do all the details that you have mentioned. So practically, what does that mean? At each sprint, we expect a number of output and outcome, right? At each sprint, we foresee one or several workshops where we come all together, share and synchronize, because that's a very important element. In the middle, we foresee this kickoff implementation where we want to emphasize on to mobilize all the stakeholders, to showcase a plan, to make sure that everyone is aligned and sync in terms of integration planning, because the synchronization for the integration is key also as a success factor for this cross-border scenario. And during the implementation phase, obviously working in the implementation phase, taking into consideration the specificity of each of the stakeholders that we have presented so far. And at the end, everyone comes together and we create one single story that we showcase to the rest of the world, of Europe at least. So these are I wanted to make a recap on the principles. I think the details are super important, obviously. I wanted to make a step back on the approach as well, to make sure that everyone keep these principles in mind.
Thanks, Aki. Yeah, you are right, because it is really important that all the team must be on the same point, and the principles are based, and that also will provide the next steps and the alignment. That's it. So as I said before, the whole EBSI team will support you in the cross-border scenario journey. And for that, as you can see from EBCI core team, there's a lot of actors here. We have project manager, the conveners, the main experts, legal governance experts, or policy advisors, project officer and technical team, and also the SMO and communication. But it must be a balanced game. So we need also a dedicated EBSI team for a dedicated early adopter program team. Early adopter team. So your team must also be close and must also be prepared and engaged to work together. Okay, next slide, please. I think now the floor is yours, maybe, Farira and Saki.
Yeah, just a last point before the questions here, and I think Robert can complement me in case. I think why now? It's an important question because we are talking here, and Robert mentioned it, we are talking about a pilot in pre-production. And while there are some important legal work that is still ongoing at European level, this provides you early adopters with a unique opportunity, in fact, to influence the regulatory framework, for example, by presenting possible solution on pre-production. So you integrate with EBSI in pre-production, you showcase and share your experience with others with a kind of limited risk, and then if it works, you kind of pioneer in establishing the standards, guiding others for the scale in production. So very important, pre-production now, in the coming 3 months, I think it's an important message to, let's say, still convince you to join the train. And now I will give the floor to Zaira for clarification questions. Zaira, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Good.
sharing my screen now. All right. Is the approach and the timeline proposed to achieve the cross-border scenario together clear to you? And if no, which is I see here, could you please let us know what isn't clear to you? You can always unmute yourself and ask us the question directly, engage with us, or just write it in the chat.
Indeed.
We have a 50-50% here.
And we are very happy to say some yes, because I think it's totally normal to have this kind of yes. Sometimes it's difficult in 2 hours and a half to present every details of an approach. So please ask the question. We might be able to answer. If not, we might refine it until the next milestone. So this is very important.
I think it might look a bit overwhelming, the planning, the sprints and the goals. And that's why we have this uncertain, I guess. But not over engineering this problem. We just need to have one person, not full time, that will be dedicated to contact us and perform some particular tasks in order to be ready. And of course, we know that changing the information systems to issue verifiable credentials takes time. But in this case, where this is not possible, maybe we should consider a use of the tools that could help us to do it. I don't know, Luis, would you like to complement that it's not that super hard and very difficult to achieve what we aim to do?
Maybe I gave too much detail about the steps to be done or the tasks to be done, but as Robert said, so if you see the first three steps that we are proposing, that start in July and will end in September, is just to discover, to think about, have the team engaged, the team form, the team engaged, read documentation, and start to identify your journey. So we are talking about July, August, and September to get a clear idea and also meet other projects to find synergies, and that's the main point. Okay. Then it will be in September that at the end of September, the technical work, the action, the team, the build will start. And for that, if you have done previously and you are aligned with other initiatives in the first three steps, the building is a technical. It's just a technical question, of course. Technical details are there, but also the tools and the the experience shared by other member states will allow you to really to go quicker and faster and to implement more quickly. That's it. So
maybe Luis, also a question that popped up in the chat a few times. Of course, we are breaking into your project. We are proposing indeed a timeline that is very tight, we know, but we wanted to have a journey that could look and to have support you. We need to reflect, and you need to reflect, of course, how this timeline can be implemented with your project. But for us, it's very important, and I think for the whole community, it's important to have some use cases and some use, the more the better, of course, at the end of the year. Because we need to prove at political level, at member state level, that we have something that will be production ready and can be established. So the showcase is for us very important. Will the work be done after the November? No, it will not. You will need to evolve and other ones, but we would like that you at least start with us in the same page. Everybody will be having his own tempo, but that we try to evolve, and some will go deeper and faster. So that is something that we need to reflect and to try to. And that's also why it's important to participate in the workshops that we will be having end of September, to see and align certain timelines. Some will be maybe more faster and so on. So don't let you be too much intimidated by the timelines. It is something that we need to work together, but know that we want to, with full speed, of course, help you as much as possible, of course. So that is a thing that you need to be taken in consideration. And also to mention, we have presented the SF/diploma roadmap. So things that are more looking at SSI will be also integrated here. But of course, we see diploma as a association of SF, so it will be in combination. For the document traceability, there is a separate roadmap, and as mentioned by Margaret, it will be raised in other sessions. But they take a more individual approach where we see what each project can have an added value. Here we had the added value in the collaboration.
Also to complement, some of the tasks are not really that complicated, because first time fill-in trusted registries might really look like a rocket science, while it's just to identify in some sort of information about the organization and pass it to our support office in order to encode it and then verify it. So it's not, I think, that much difficult, and we are here to help you. And nobody will judge you, and if someone will not do something in time, okay. We all are in this journey and we do our best. However, some sort of a commitment, like having a single point of contact to get us feedback is crucial and very important. And that needs to be a baseline for monitoring this scenario. So we are really dead serious about working on it. We want to use this time opportunity and pre-production circumstances to provide the full demonstration of cross-border use of EBSI. Why it's so important? Because we have reached a milestone which is very important and unique in the world. So currently we have 36 nodes. 6 of them are, of course, Commission nodes, but 30 nodes distributed in different member states, providing already pre-production APIs to be used today. And some of early adopters are already using those services to encode information on-chain. On the EBSI ledger to perform verification processes. So we would like to go further, being a leader together with you, together with early adopters, and influence the standards in the world regarding exchanging of verifiable credentials by providing next milestone, which is reaching agreement in exchange of credentials in a cross-border context. So that's why it is so important for us to do it. There are many initiatives in the world and also in Europe that are pursuing the same. However, EBSI is unique when it comes to the current state of play.
Robert, thank you very much. I think that there is a very important question from Pierluigi, and I think that Daniel would like to answer to that.
Indeed, Pierluigi, I think you have maybe the doubts that the other people also have. So to be clear, this is a support that we provide from an EBSI itself. So giving you your project support that you need to integrate. Yeah, but it comes, and it needs to be very, very clear. You come with your own funding, your own resources. What EBSI does not support is the funding on your resources. So the teams, we provide our team, you provide your team. And that is the way that we collaborate. So no funding from each other. That needs to be clear. So we're focusing on already funded project, whatever it is, or voluntary work, so that needs to be clear. Yeah. To be technically involved, please wait until you get access to the wiki, so you get able to discover and design. So our domain expert, technical expert will interact, give you access to APIs, give you access to pre-production. That will be already so forth. Yeah. What if you align with our vision, but you don't have 100% support from external partners? It is the case. Let's be very blunt about that. It is the case. We're introducing something new. Don't expect that other administration will be happy that they need to change their legacy system. It's a transition, but we will be help you as much as we can to do that transition. But it will be it's a change management. Don't be expect. And who is able to collaborate? We are, as mentioned at the beginning, focused on public sector. So public sector can engage, but they can engage together with their partners, technical, commercial firms, whatever they want. But we always interact at the first stage with the public administration. To give the example maybe of Austria, it's all the universities, the Austrian Ministry of Education that was engaging in the EBSI for Austria, and then also engaging their partners, which across what was Danube. So in that case, we have a very broad, but it is at the first a very public sector aspect. But if you have those kind of questions, I don't hesitate to ask them. Some project will be maybe ready to start, and we had also some discussion with them. Other projects, maybe some more doubts, but reach out to us, and we can also, I see, before we start on the 15th of July, to give you more insight in what it is and what to expect and not to expect.
And you will see later in the presentation how you can get access to the wiki.
Yeah. Just to complement, and that's also what some of the member states in Wave 1 have done. Maybe you have your CEF project with an extended timeline, but you can see the opportunity to accelerate some of the contents of that CEF project. And so that's also the case. But it's an opportunity. It's not a must. Let's see.
If you allow me to complement it for the indeed, I mean this EBSI initiative and this joint pilot should be an opportunity for you to not only to accelerate the things, but also to scale up your initiative for something that can be demonstrated all across Europe. And as such, as it was reminded by my colleagues before, I mean, EBSI has no equivalent in terms of implementation of blockchain within Europe. For what is about the CEF, and I've seen a question in the chat box. Our colleague from Agnieszka and from the agency managing the CEF project are here. Of course, we will facilitate the thing, so don't worry too much about it. And it's I think it's really an opportunity if you engage in this pilot to get more and more easily through your CEF project. That's it.
Thank you, Pierre, for the clarification. I think we are going to move on into now a very important question, in fact, that Luis will depict. We have discussed a lot about this cross-border pilot, the approach, the timeline that we propose. We see that there are still some questions. So for some of you it's clear, for some of you it's less clear. Fine, all of this can be clarified. Now let's see a little bit from the pilots that already exist, who is already committed, and what are their status. So Luis, the floor is yours for that part.
Okay, maybe next slide, please, Saki. Okay, so from wave one, 4 member states are currently part of the multi-university pilot for diploma use case: Austria, Netherlands, Spain, and France. And as also explained by Daniel before, 3 more are crossing the commitment for the CEF use case: Slovakia, Netherlands, and also Spain. Let's see what these brave member states have accomplished right now. Next slide, please, Saki. So for diploma use case, all of them have finished the first 2 steps of the journey, and they are actioning the scene. The stakeholders have been identified and are already engaged. The accreditation organizations, the issuers and verifiers, and the holders have been identified, and they have been registered in the source of trust in the EBSI trusted registries, the ledger. The governance has been reviewed and implemented, and information systems have been evolved or instantiated to issue verified credentials. And the wallet providers have been involved also, and first EBSI compliant wallet solutions have been produced or are being just finishing the production. Next slide, please. Okay, for a CEF, as committed before, these 3 member states are moving forward. The stakeholders have also clearly identified all the entities and the partners, and the trusted registries are being filled right now. Some details about verifiers and data modeling for issuers must be defined and agreed, and that is where the action is focused right now, and it's the same for diplomas use case. Next slide, please.
Maybe if you stay a minute in this slide, this is what we see as the power of that cross-border. So Slovakia is figuring out, okay, if we add the Slovakian EID into our wallet, when we interact with the Dutch, are we using the same scheme? Are we using the same credentials? Are we same signature? So that is the power of those kind of things, that they really check how can we cross-border and cross-interact that, not on a theoretical model, but on the wallet aspect. You see, you have different wallets in Spain and Netherlands and Slovakia, but they need to communicate and they need to understand what kind of standards are we do. So we provide the guidelines to do that, but they do the real work and the real implementation, and provide us the feedback. Okay, this is workable. This needs to be more stable. So see those cross-border. That's why we are very focused on those kind of things. That will help us. It's not that Slovakia will be using it just in Slovakia. The citizens need to be empowered to use it in many different aspects, and cross-sector, whatever they want. And you see that also the engaged parties, and that's something that also you need to see if you want to start in the project. You need to see, okay, what kind of parties do I need? In Spain, La Moneda is banned, so they are the AIE providers, the citizens are the universities are involved. So different stakeholders participate in that pilot aspect. So that's very important. The same on the Dutch aspect.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Next slide, please, Saki. Okay, so based on the success criteria that has been agreed and that has been shared before, a dashboard to let early adopters identify their progress, but also the progress of the cross-border related initiative has also been provided. This is the current status, and I think it was reevaluated yesterday. And here you can see that now today we are moving, I think that succeed through the cross-border scenario. But of course, this is also a dashboard that provides information for their own initiatives. I don't know, Saki, if you want to add something here?
I think what is important to mention here is that we have these success criteria. We would like to monitor the pilot, the cross-border pilot, according to these success criteria. We can always move the target, obviously, and we see that the status is already good. Now, of course, the point here is that if we can be more ambitious, because you early adopters, you would like to be part of it, and you would like to join the train, I think the target can evolve and the status as well. So this is just a template that enables everyone to monitor a little bit where we are in terms of managing this cross-border pilot. And obviously, we would like these figures to be higher if it is possible, and to be even more qualitative if it is possible. So voilà, this is an indication, and it is aimed at evolving.
Yeah, and fully aligned with the outcomes for every deadline that has been presented before. Sorry, Robert, go on.
No problem. I would like just to add on top another layer of benefits joining our work together, is that you will meet amazing people from whole Europe, and it's really valuable on itself to exchange your views with the colleagues from other member states, and build the knowledge together. Then you are not alone in your journey, because all we do it's about doing things together.
Okay, thanks, Robert. So next slide, please, Saki. So here we have a deeper view on the action on the scene step, the diploma use case, and the 4 member states that are committed on the cross-border pilot. All of them have created and registered the DIDs for all the related entities, so the trusted accreditation organizations, the issuers. Almost all of them have filled the trusted registries for that. In July, all of them will be able to issue verifiable credentials. Now, already, some of them are capable to do it. Once key details for interoperability, as explained before, related to verifiable credentials, context, and JSON-LD will be defined, as also Marcus commented before. All of them will be able to issue diploma verified attestations, and the end-to-end cross-border scenario will become a reality. Next slide, please, Saki. Okay, so this is your time. Imagine yourself being part of this amazing journey, being part of the pioneers to reimagine education and students' mobility in Europe. Join the 4 member states, the 7 universities, and the 2 quality providers that are already committed to deliver the pilot. Let's imagine the future together. That's it. Let's co-create together, and let's succeed at delivering the first cross-border service to manage educational credentials and identity credentials across Europe. That's all from my side. Saki, Zaira, I think the floor is yours right now.
Indeed. So keep that slide in mind. I think this summarizes a little bit in a more marketing way what we want to pass as a message. But in fact, and we are going to conclude, let's say, the core of the presentation and go to the Q&A sessions. But before that, we have 4 questions for you. I will already tease them, but we will do that through the Slido. We would like to know if you agree with the proposed cross-border scenario. We would like to know from you if you agree with the suggested approach. We would like from you to know whether you agree with the timeline that is, and the approach and the timeline that is proposed. And at the end of the day, we would like to know if you would be ready to commit to deliver at least part of this cross-border pilot. So of course we are going to do that through Slido. The same question will come, and that's very important for us, for you as well, so that we align our ambitions. And I will let Zaira take the floor now, take the screen.
Yes.
I invite everyone, voila, with Zaira to answer to the questions.
So the first question again is, do you agree with the proposed cross-border scenario? Maybe. Again, please speak out. Let us know what your doubts are, how we can help you, how we can support you. We have a 40% on yes, not anymore.
I think this is key for alignment, and that's why also we take the risk to ask these kind of questions, because it's only with these kind of questions that we can start.
For me, for example, a big part of maybe could be solved by just playing the rule of verifier, and it's not that complicated. So if you want to limit a bit the scope of your work, you can also do it by identifying yourself with the rules that you want to play in the process, and then it's not that difficult. But of course, the more involvement and the more work put in, the better results we will achieve together, and the faster we will reach the production.
Very good point, Robert. Thank you. So no movement, no. So we have a yes winning still, but we invite again everyone to comment on the maybe and the no, to help us understand what is perhaps missing or where are the possible misalignment. But I suggest that we slightly move on to the next. But we still have answer.
Okay, we go back. We have a 52% on yes now, which is really good. And again, to just repeat what Saki's saying, just write in the chat, let us know. If you can explain to us what are your doubts, then perhaps we can cover that in our next presentation.
I think that the group of no could be interested in other use cases, or maybe other actions related to the founding that they've got. So it's quite of understandable for me. But if you have a particular reason, if the session was not clear enough and you need more insights, then of course we are here to improve the way we work based on your valuable input. So that's why we encourage you to pick up the mic and speak out the problem you see or the things that we could improve.
And we will have the opportunity to do that during the Q&A sessions, because I guess we are on time. So we can move to the next question, I think, Zaira.
So the next question is, do you agree with the proposed approach?
Seeing the additional input that we gave, we know that we asked already that question. I think we did it on purpose to see whether clarifications could help. Good. Moving fast. Great.
We try to be consistent with the materials that we are producing. So there is a reason why we are keeping this approach highlighted, because it follows what we have worked on during previous months, during webinars, establishing the framework for piloting. So all of that we try to make as coherent as possible, and therefore there is a logic. This proposed approach is not something that we came up with over a coffee. It's over 2 years of work. So
Very good. 24 answers. We have again same kind of distribution, but we have a majority of yes, which is
good.
Which is also good.
Um,
And we have still people answering. Very good. We will let 30 seconds more, and then we will move to the third question.
Maybe as you mentioned, Asaki, please use the Q&A because I'm also very interested. Okay, what do you don't see as feasible in the approach? Do you have a different? Let us know. So hey, don't be shy. Use the micro. So unmute yourself in the Q&A to also share that. It's not a plea to not answer in the no, but.
And even if you feel like you don't have the answer right now, you can still email us later on and then explain. We're going to move on to our third question.
Indeed.
Which is, do you agree with the proposed timeline? I understand that some of our participants was a bit nervous about the timeline, so you don't.
There is also interesting question. Is the diplomas limited only to academic diplomas? Here, Luis, I think we can say that it's educational credentials at Gallants, at taking those broad.
You're right, Robert.
So it's not only academic diplomas. So if you have institutions that are issuing educational credentials, those could also be involved in that pilot.
Okay, it's interesting. I was personally expecting this a bit because the first question was, do you agree with the approach and timeline? And it seems that in fact it's the timeline that seems to be a little bit more
the concern.
The concern, you could say it like that.
I understand before summer break, we don't want to commit to to work too much. So for us, I think it's pretty simple what you need to do during the summer break. You just need to know who will be in contact with us and just reflect a bit on the structure of your educational environment. Not really something overwhelming. Then, of course, from September, we need to get more hands-on, and it will be more demanding. But we will provide you with the tools if you will need one, and we will help you to reach the goals. And again, if you wish to just play a specific role in that pilot, you can also consider that. But we would like to encourage to have a full set and understanding of a full pilot scenario, because we see that the benefits should spread accordingly to the rules, to the engaged actors.
Shall we go to the last question?
Yes. So our next question and our last question will be, so are you ready to commit to start working on this cross-border scenario as of August 2021? Maybe just to add, despite your nervousness about the timeline, as Robert and the entire team was here for you to support you, we hope we can help you. And again, these slides will be shared with you later on after this webinar so that you can review these slides at your own time, at your own pace, and ask us any questions if you have.
But I would like also to mention that these questions this is of course anonymous, and it's nice to see the overall feeling of everyone, and that's why we ask for this commitment. Do we have the thresholds to propose a path as from August? And I mean, we will not only have one wave of cross-border scenario, obviously, and we are here talking about the first wave of cross-border scenario. So it's already very good to see that 43% are ready to commit to start working on it as of August. So
yeah, and on the other hand, let's also be clear. We are looking at those special early adopters that want to engage. You are ready to go there. Maybe your timeline is different and that you have more weight in next year. No problem. This program EBSI will not close after this year. It will be something that after we'll be continuing, but we are looking at people who are now ready to help us to showcase by the end of the year. You'll get opportunities later on. We'll be evolving in the next years. That's not a call to hold down, but be realistic. EBSI will be here for a while, and we are still looking at more projects. But we need to see that we can prove our capabilities at this moment.
All right. So thanks a lot. I think this is very good. I think this was very good. This is extremely interesting, and I think this is extremely normal because not everyone can join the train at a certain moment. But still, 42% are saying yes. So I guess knowing that, we will give the last words to you, Daniel. To explain a little bit practically what are the next milestone and how things will happen in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I saw. Oh, there were a lot of impatient questions on this on the chat. To be very practical, show us that information. So now we can reveal how you can do that. So what are our key coming milestones? So we already asked your commitment with Zaira did that, of course, in Slido, but you'll be having a bit more time to reflect, of course. So the first thing that we would like to do is, okay, confirm your commitment. I will share you the slide. You will have some time to reflect. Okay, what have I seen? Is that perfect for my project or not? You need to discuss. So before we would like to see before the 15th of July, give us an indication and give us a bit your commitment, and us as by the convener. So each use case has a convener, and let us know. If you have questions, please reach out to us. If you have special things, I have already received some mails from you, but I don't hesitate to do that. Ask us. We can see how is the fit, or are we on the same page? If you're convinced, we had already some discussion with some of you, so we're open to do that. If you have not already filled in the survey for the non-CEF projects, please do that. And of course, what we also want to ask is, okay, share also your contact details, that we know who is your project coordinator or who is a single point of contact. And then we also provide the necessary access. That is a first important milestone. I will be coming back for the access on the wiki on more details. So that is a first deadline milestone if you want to before the 15th of July. Then when we give you full access, we're going to ask you to go into a bit discovery and organization phase. You're going to have the possibility to read all the guidelines, participate in some Q&A sessions, also a bit establish the teams that you have and scenarios and roles, and assign different roles. You can also get familiar with all the EBSI aspects. Then that is we see that you have in the summer the necessary times. So on the 30th of August, we see that bit of deadline, and then we hope to see as much as possible in the design phase. So we see, okay, based on the information you get, you know what the EBSI is and what the EBSI is not. What have the other times done that you design your project, try to plan it with the full functional sphere. And that's something that we see towards the 19th of September. And that's also where we plan also that workshop together with Alvida. We hope to do that on a lively base, that we bring on together all the project and try to align all the timelines and the deliverables that you have. Just so we are making this a big project in collaboration. So, and that is something before our quarterly meeting. So we have quarterly meetings in the EBP. And on the 24th, we have that meeting, so we can also present the results of this first track. So that is a bit the first months that we want to see from a commitment to discovery, designing, and to implementation phase of kickoff. And of course, the showcase. And then we go further in the other sprints that we have seen. Maybe next slide. To be very concrete on the access of the wiki, so share first your contact details. Who is your coordinator of your project? Share that with the convener, so with Louis and myself. So contact details will be shared. And then we'll also invite you as a single point of contact towards the meetings that we have, the workshops. You can include other partners, of course, and they need to create first login. And you log in, share that login with us, and then we give all those people that you see necessary in team access to the wiki. And then you can freely browse those aspects. But respect those steps so that we can, of course, have as many people. We have now 100 people that joined the webinar. Please let us in an organized way. Therefore, what we need those coordinators. So that is aspect. To be clear, the EBP members have already access to that aspect, but we are talking about other project coordinators, other partners, private, public, that also need access. Of course, limited towards your project members. It's not that all stakeholders need those kind of things. It is your project partners that can get access towards. We want to make it manageable, and then we also try to arrange, but that we'll do in the session, how you can contact domain experts, how we see the interaction with technical experts. That's also so that we have. So that is a bit the procedure. I will share my contact details also in the mail, but it will be coming also within the presentation that we'll share afterwards, and that of Louis, and then we can start this process. Okay.
Very good. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, maybe it's a quick input. Make the wiki public, as Oscar mentioned. We know, but you need to know that the guidelines are not finished. Yeah, so we expect some feedback. There are also things that are a bit more closed, and that some people want first feedback. We are seeing this as the first community aspect, and when the community is ready, we can need to publish it openly. But at this stage, it's not possible to have it fully open because we want to also be controlled. We need to know what project we interact to, and have also a bit of safe harbor in this.
Very good. I have seen several times, of course, the slides will be shared. That's for sure. And for the last minutes that we've got, the last 10 minutes, we propose to have a Q&A session. So I don't know if there are some questions that you would like to answer from the chat, or if you want to speak, do not hesitate to unlock your mic and share your question also by voice. So here is the time to ask all the questions you want. The experts are there, project manager, sponsor, the people are there to answer to your questions. So please do not hesitate. We have 10 minutes now to answer your questions.
Saki, maybe to not to break the ice because we are not yet at this stage, no more at this stage, but there was a question about to clarify that we don't need to have a national blockchain initiative to allow a project to be connected with this pilot. So that's something that have been already clarified by Luis through the chat, but perhaps Daniel, you can confirm it and make it clear for
Indeed.
everyone.
So we see some projects are indeed nationally organized, the full stack from, like in Spain, from the Moneda towards university. But we see other countries, like in France, but just one university is interacting with a partner to integrate with EBSI. That is also possible. So it's depending on your project. Can it be big? It can be limited. So we are not putting out, it's always public sector driven, university or whatever, or a sector, but it can be also relatively small. So that is also for us very valuable, and we also would like to support those kind of projects. So don't hesitate to say, okay, but I'm just a university. You can also apply and try to see how we interact to that you make your trusted issues, that you can interact with the system in a cross-border sector interaction.
Okay, there's another question in the chat. Well, in fact, it's from Slido. That is about how to guarantee wallet interoperability, and for that, some wallet principles, guidelines, and RFCs are provided in the wiki. But also, Robert, maybe now you can introduce that the initiative for wallet interoperability, compliance, and interoperability. I don't know if you can say something about that.
Yeah, it's something that we've started to work on. We've initiated a new track in the BSI, which is conformance and interoperability testing. So as a first step, we want to focus on establishing conformance testing based on standards that we will all agree to use, and to prepare during the summertime first version of the test suite with test cases that will allow us to get the first DBSI compliant wallet implementation. Then, as soon as we will get into the Digital Europe program and increased funding, we will start to work on interoperability aspects. And here, we think that by that time, we will have at least 2 wallets implementations that we will be able to test in accordance to interoperability aspects. So then we want to do it in an open and transparent way. So the solution service providers that will become compliant and conformant compliant with the BSI will be listed on the EBSI website, providing which part of compliance and interoperability framework they are supporting. It's a similar solution like for other building blocks that we have delivered in the past, and we have a good experience from giving credits to the solution and service providers that put attention and they put work in order to achieve compliance and conformance with the services that we are providing through the EBSI platform.
Thank you, Robert. Is there any question? Someone that would like to react orally as well?
If I can use this opportunity, I have a question. I've been wondering since the start, first of all, a great initiative and a great approach to want to build this together, because I think only together we can succeed. But to work together, not only the technical part has to be realized, that has to be realized first to enable us to work together. But after that, the data that we store in SSI can take many forms and shapes. So I've been wondering, is there any initiative about modeling that data and to create standards that the data is written in a standard way to the SSI, so all readers and verifiers can read it within that domain, like a human resource domain and education domain. They have a lot of overlapping areas, but they are also somehow interested in different things. So kind of holistic approach to data modeling.
That's indeed a very difficult one. We propose to use well-recognized standards. So for verifiable credentials, we mainly use W3C standards in order to issue verifiable credentials. And in particular for the educational one, I think with what is important is that we would like also to encourage use of Europass data model.
Okay, really anxious to learn what that is. Thank you for the answer.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit disturbed by my little son.
I would like to ask you something too. I fully understand you, Robert, because my children also sometimes come and play around. So I have a question related to the fact that it is my first occasion to join you in this ESBI initiative. And I see that someone in the chat said, okay, we met here, we had an occasion for doing that in the past and so on. So I'm not very well aware about the technical elements behind, but what I already studied, I teach cybersecurity at the university, so I'm involved from the university point of view, but I don't have the, let's say, I'm not a representative to say we can join as university to make our records available. I do just research at the university, so I'm not the right person for doing this, to take such kind of decision. And on the other side, I also lead an academic spin-off that works on blockchain technology. We develop documented traceability and agri-food traceability. So we are in a special point to have both a technical vision and also an adoption vision in terms of in this case, schools or academies and so on. My question was, can we also include our potential or our actual clients into the loop? Because we have already a solution, but of course it is not 100% compliant with what you are proposing, because you are in a journey. We did a journey by our own, but it is not 100% in the same direction. So in some cases, for example, the technologies that you decide, the Hyperledger Fabric, the Ethereum on the, let's say, on the permissioned version of Ethereum, it's something that we already did as a choice. We agree on this. But there are other choices. I saw in the chat, it was not me, but I fully agree with those who wrote there, that I have a different vision also in terms of multiple chains that can be connected. So networks on networks or side chain or something like that, or Cosmos, other kinds of inter-blockchain communication in general, but we are opening a very big box if we talk about the other elements. So my question is, can we join this program even if we have somehow a critical vision, critical in terms of propositive, let's say a positive way to be critical? I mean, not just to say, no, I don't like your approach. We like your approach. We would like to be compliant as much as possible. We don't know which kind of a percentage of compliance we can obtain at the end of this journey, eventual journey together. But I think that it would be a value for us and for you to try to take what we already did and put this expertise into what you are going to do
Maybe to answer to those kind of things, of course,
yeah.
EBSI is a big program. So we have done different things on the policy area, on the technical area, on the use case area.
Sorry.
This program is focusing on integration and implementation. That is the real focus on the early adopters. Yeah, but of course we are looking at, and then maybe there's something Robert can go into that. Our technical group is of course looking, and we had the discussion on last technical group is, okay, how to position towards other networks. The network of network things that popped out of the case is something that is in discussion. Yeah? We already also mentioned that I discussed that with other groups like the INAPTA working group and so on. So I think that is that discussion is very valuable and needs to be done, but it's not the focus of this particular program. Yeah? So maybe, I don't know, Robert, at what forum those kind of discussion can be best organized, because I think it is interesting. We did indeed a technical choice, but we are multi-ledger, we are multi-aspect. So I don't know, Robert, what is your opinion on this?
My opinion is that it's too soon to talk about network of networks without having established network. So, so for me, the main challenge, the main goal that I see for the following month is to provide the end-to-end cross-border pilots to prove that it's possible and mature enough to make it real. And also by doing so, establishing trusted registries. So positioning EBSI as a trust service provider. So to complement other initiatives that they lack this trust factor. So I guess that's the way how we will progress. And then of course, as soon as we will sort out the legal and policy problems in order to consider EBSI as a network which is trustworthy, we will start to establish a governance guidelines on how to interconnect and exchange and provide services to other blockchain networks. So I see as a first part of our existence that the BSI could provide specific services towards other networks, like providing capabilities to complete the full verification of the information. But maybe, Pierre, you would like to complement?
Yes, thanks, Robert. I mean, indeed, I mean, first to answer the question to Pierluigi, I mean, positive or constructive criticism or even negative one, but we prefer to have constructive criticism. That's always welcome, and this is it will help us to develop further this project. Then, I mean, as it was said, today we are focused on one specific early adopter phase that we want to develop, but the EBSI project as a whole is an evolutive and long journey project. It's more than a project; it's an initiative. So it's clear that we have already started discussion about the evolution of such an infrastructure towards a network of network. It's clear that this infrastructure is by design, the objective is that it can leverage on or be built on different protocol, different approach. So this is the architecture already anticipate that. So clearly, the answer is yes. In the context of the blockchain partnership and in the context of the EBSI project, we'll take into account all those aspects. Now, as it was reminded by Daniel and Robert, the focus of the early adopter program is really to start to exploit what we have. And it is, I would say, really something beyond the EBSI project, is something which is really important also for in the blockchain ecosystem, that we start to have real implementation at a scale which is very significant of application. And this is why we would like to have as many participants in this early adopter program that start to implement something, but of course they are at the same time they can propose alternative approach. They can propose way to improve what we want to implement. And indeed, as said by Robert, we need to organize a little bit more now that we are at a phase to start to implement the EFSI. We need also to organize how we can take into account other views and how the project could evolve also through a network of networks. So we are not yet here, but it is part of the journey that we want to do. And so we are open to any question and suggestion for that. But at first, the message for the blockchain community is that it's really important that we can start to implement something at a scale. And this is what is the big added value of such a project, is that by nature it's concerned all the member states. By nature it is a pan-European or cross-border infrastructure, and it aims not only to test or to validate concept, but really to make use case operational. So at the C level, we are fully mobilized towards this objective, which is not a pure research and innovation project or a pilot, as we could have that we have supported and that will continue to support at the European level. But here we are really talking about the deployment of capacities, the deployment of an infrastructure, which can take different form as it will evolve over time. But we are really focused on making it operational, and that's what is also needed at European level. That's why we count on you and other colleagues to join this early adopter program to really mark an important milestone in the project. That's it.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't see any other question lately in the chat. I don't know if someone else would like to intervene, but we will have to close the session in some minutes. So I suggest that we take maybe a last question or two last questions, and then we close the webinar if someone wants to interact. No. All right. Maybe I don't know, Pierre, you would like to have the last words to close the webinar, maybe, and
simply to thank all of the participants and also to thank them for their interest that was clearly highlighted through the Slido survey, and noting that, of course, as it was said before, I mean, we would like to start to implement the things as quickly as possible, but it's the early adopter program will also open a new opportunity to involve new players when they are ready to join. As it was said before, there are different ways to contribute to this early adopter program. Some can play a more pioneering role, others can play a role which is a bit more limited. But what is really important for us is that we engage with as many stakeholders as possible. So many thanks to all of you for your participation. Thanks again to our colleagues, the conveners, I mean, Daniel and Luis in particular, but there is other representative of member states who are really active and proactive in this process. Many thanks to Robert and all the team, for you, Saki and Zaira, for the animation of the workshop, and we hope to see you soon, not only in the future webinar, but also through the interaction that you can have with the support team. And do not hesitate to come back to us with a different question and really to participate in this early adopter program. We will try to organize ourselves in order to facilitate this engagement. So many thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Thank you, all of you. Voila, that's the last word. And sorry for the 15 minutes late, but I guess it was interesting. Voila.
Thanks to all of you.
Definitely.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.